Welcome to Nauck's Vintage Records Vintage Record Auction 69 Highlights Reel. I'm going to be showing you some of the more interesting, visually appealing, and rarer lots in the catalog. And Jack is over here on the camera. So we're going to get started. We got a lot to go through. Beginning with our first section, this is a brown Berliner that we have listed as lot number 5. It's got a $5,000 minimum bid on it. I know of 3 of these. I bought all of them from a fellow here in Houston who was working on V-disc formulations during World War II. And these had been given to him by a former member or a former employee at Early Victor Talking Machine Company, period. This, of course, predates that. This was a Berliner. This was recorded in 1896. I bought 3 of these brown Berliners from him. They were experimental, all of them from 1896. And I've sold 1. I'm selling this one in this auction, and the 3rd one I'm keeping in my own collection. It's a very thin and flexible Berliner, similar to what you see on a lot of your 1894 Berliners. This is lot number 6. The only reason I bring this out is because of the white filler in the engraved area for the label. That I don't believe is original. I don't know that Berliner ever did that on his records. It would have been nice if he had. Make them a whole lot easier to read. But just I wanted to show that to you. This is lot number 4. This is an 8-inch master, or mother actually. This is something that they would have used to pull a stamper off of when the stamper that they were using wore out. They could pull another one off of this. I don't know how many stampers they were able to pull off of these things, but they're very rare and very interesting. Just a neat piece of recorded sound technology. On the back here, you'll see that it says heavy rubber record. It's actually not rubber, it's gutta percha. It says used as metal mothers were used subsequently. The person who wrote this meant by that is that later on, when they were using plating wax and getting metal parts, instead of having a gutta percha mother, they would have had a metal mother. Plays at 70 RPM. The note on the bottom indicates the provenance. Received from Mr. Joseph Sanders, Emil Berliner's nephew, November 17th, 1952. I'm not exactly sure who it was who received this record from him in 1952, but this did come out of the collection of the Midwest Phonograph Museum in Martinsville, Indiana. I don't know if Dr. Ellery Drake was collecting in 1952. If he was, then he's very likely the person that Mr. Sanders gave that to. All right, now we're going to jump over to our unusual label category, and we're going to zip through these pretty quick. A lot of these we've seen on a couple of the previous highlights videos. Some of them I'm not even going to show because they're not that important. But we've got a lot of records to look at, so we're not going to spend a lot of time. So this is lot number 466, the Amco label. We are doing American labels right now. That's a red Arto. There's a black Arto. I'm sorry, lot number on that was 468. This is 469. This is one of the rare records in our auction this time. This is a Marsh autograph pressing by the Super Syncopators. A nice blue label autograph. Only has a $50 minimum bid, and that's because it has a 1.5-inch separated crack, which will track, but unfortunately it is there. All right. That's what your red autographs will look like, of course. Jesse Crawford, fairly common. And we'll pass up those. Here's an early banner label. There's banner, a couple bells. Bingola doesn't turn up that frequently. That's lot number 479. Jack, if I forget to mention the lot number, holler at me. The early black Swan label, we've talked about this in the past on these videos. I won't go into it here, but that was the first black Swan label variety, and those are scarce. That was lot number 480. Here are a couple of other black Swans. Here's a nice scarce one, Coconut Dance by Danny Lewis on lot number 482. minimum bid. Now this is a very rare record. We may have shown one of these in a previous highlight reel, I don't know. But this is a blue disc record. These are very, very rare. This is lot number 484. It's called blue disc because the shellac is blue. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if you're even going to be able to pick that up on this video. You really can't get a real good picture of what it looks like without taking it outdoors in the sunlight, and then it really pops out. But otherwise, it just kind of looks like a grayish black. But anyway, these are very, very rare records. Only a handful of issues came out on that label. They're all going to be several $100 records. That one was $500. That's the record that Duke Ellington's first issue came out on. Lot number 485, Broadway. Here's the Chicago Gospel Tabernacle record, done for the Christian and Missionary Alliance. That's lot number 489. There's a international record company, Cleartone, lot number 491. It's lot number 494. An earlier Commodore Music Shop label by Billy Banks. Unfortunately, this side has a little bit of a smear on it where somebody tried to remove some crayon. Concert record. De Vega. I'm not giving lot numbers, Jack. De Vega, $4.99. Some of our records are in these plastic bags for one reason or another. I'm not going to take them out. This is an Edison needle cut with its original sleeve. It's lot number 500. Here's another one, lot 501. Here's a third with its original sleeve. Very nice. 502. This is a very rare label. The Electric in blue. Lot number 503. Everybody's. 504. Excelsior. 505. We're going quickly, but you guys have a pause button. If there's anything that you want to look at a little closer, just hit that and rejoin us. There's Faultless Concert record. Lot number 509, another international record company. Label, very, very attractive one, and also pretty scarce. Here is an Art Tone Jeanette label. I'm sure you guys have seen those before. They're not uncommon. We're going to be getting some very unusual and interesting Jeanette pressings in a little bit. California Golden label. Here is a Reb's Legion Club 45s doing Steppin' High on California Hollywood label. It's a little bit faded. I don't know if it is picking up very well on your screen, but it's lot number 518. Another attractive label by Hudson. It's lot number 519. And Leeds and Catlin Imperial record. Is there anything I need to mention, Jack? I know.
Just don't forget the lot number.
Thank you, Jack. International record. Another international record company label. Their flagship label, of course. This is lot number 521. It's the Italian Neapolitan Records label. 522. Another very attractive label. Unfortunately, this one has a crack. And when we have a record that's got a bad crack, we bind it to a cardboard to keep it from getting worse. But there's the Celtic record. Really pretty. 523. Leads are not uncommon, but very, very cool. Foil relief labels. This is lot number 525. Single-sided disc. Mac Levin is a scarce label. Black example here. Lot number 527. Mastertone. Another scarce label, lot number 529. We mentioned a little bit about scarcity on these because a lot of our customers are international bidders and they don't really know which labels turn up frequently over here. So Red Melody, that's a scarce one. This is lot number 530. Minimum bid $25. Oh, this is quite unusual. This is an International Record Company label as well, the Mozart record, and that doesn't look very good. But I'm telling you, I've only seen a handful of those, and that's one of the better ones. So if that's a label you're missing, you probably want to go ahead and pick that up. All right, lot number 534, New Republic, another attractive label on brown wax, Irish thing, very nice. Here's a recording on the New York label by the Missouri Athletic Association Orchestra, the Sugarfoot Stomp. Minimum bid $100, 535. Nordskog, California label. Here's a black label example by Ruth Lee. And lot number 536. I guess the reason that only has a minimum bid of $50 is because it's only in V condition and plays fair. Otherwise, that would be a expensive disc. Hollywood Syncopators, another black Nordskog. Lot number 537. There's a few of these issued. Official Boy Scout record. This is number 1. As sung by an old-time scout, Old Zip Coon, lot number 538. They all had the Boy Scout color label with the cadets there doing semaphore. That is a early Indian OK lateral recording. This came right after the OKs that were vertically recorded with basically the same label style. Here is a blue OK, lot number 540. Jack? Leaving off my lot numbers. That was 539 that we just looked at. This is 540. Clarinet Marmalade by Frankie Trumbauer. $100 minimum bid on a nice blue label. Okay. There's a red label Olympic, lot 541. Black label Olympic, lot 542. Two different styles of operaphone. Here is lot number 543 and lot number 544. Okay, Paramount wound up with a Black Swan catalog, and when they reissued some of those Black Swan records, they used this particular label variety. There you see the little Black Swan record logo with a swan. Here it says formerly number 7104, so that was issued as Black Swan 7104 initially, and then it came out again on the Paramount label. This is lot number 546, $50 minimum bid. This is not a terribly common label, Peerless record. And this is something that these records always turn up very faded for whatever reason. The ink on these labels was not all that great. This is lot number 550, and it says, title on it is I Want Some Lovin' Blues by Josephine Baker. That is not actually Josephine Baker, that's Dorothy Dodd. Here we have a much nicer fantasy label with actually good printing this time, lot number 551. This says Dangerous Blues by Lucille Hegeman. And isn't that by someone else as well, Jack?
No, that's, I think, legitimate.
Oh, that one's legitimate, okay. There's another one I'm thinking about then. Here's a Puritan label. Lot number 553. Jelly Roll Morton's Steamboat 4. This thing came out on a number of different labels. Puritan is not going to be one of the easier ones to turn up. This is a $500 minimum bid in very nice shape, E-, condition. You'll see that this is also a brown wax recording. Okay, what do we have next? I'll skip over a couple of Puritans. Here's a Puritan Ringside Blues by the Greenwich Village Orchestra, lot number 558, $50 minimum bid. Oh, this is nice. This is lot number 560, Wildflower Rag by Clarence Williams Orchestra on the QRS label. QRS, two different QRS labels, these black ones, which turn up, well, not infrequently, but they're not terribly rare, and the later Kova Corporation red QRS labels. That's RMC. That's a pretty rare label. It's not in very good shape, but we put it in here because you're not likely to find another one anytime soon.
And that was 561.
Thank you, Jack. 561. This is lot number 562, Rialto. There's a very, very valuable and desirable Rialto. This one is not it, but it's still a rare label from Chicago. Lot number 562, minimum bid $25. All right. A Sunset Recording, California label, Carlisle Stevenson's Bon Ton Orchestra. Here we go with a Sunshine. I think we've seen one or two of these in past highlights reels. Lot number 566 with a $100 minimum bid. This is a paste over label. You see that. That's why these typically have some tears and wrinkles or bubbles, as we see here. That's pasted on top of a Nordskog label by, this is Ori's Sunshine Orchestra. $100 minimum on that. Here's a late Superior with the smaller diameter label. This is 567. Superiors are very tough records. They made a number of them, but they just didn't make very many of any one of those. And they are hard to find in good shape. Timely Tunes, Victor Pressing, lot number 570. Triangles are nice records, lot number 571, good looking label there. Vim, 572. Ford's Trailblazer, 573. All right, so that takes care of our specific American uncommon record label section. We are now going to go to the foreign labels. Here we have Adler, 574. Angelus, Australian label. This is lot number 575, made to look a little bit like a Jeanette Electrobeam. Apollon, 576. We've seen some of these in previous highlight reels, I know. Disc Arion, Arrow. A lot of these, of course, were pressed in Germany. The Beat All record, $15 minimum bid. How about that? The Ragtime Goblin Man. Becca Grand. The Unbreakable Bellbird, another Australian label, flexible. University Syncopators, $25 minimum bid on that. Here's the Beta record, still in testing, lot number 582 with a kangaroo on the label. Beta record, okay. Brilliant. Capital, 584. Cinch, that's a common label, 585. Coliseum, 587. Da Capo, 588. Diodol, 589. Here's another Unbreakable label, the Duophone Unbreakable label with the lion gnawing on it, lot number 590. Here's a scarce disc on a relatively common label, the Edison Bell Electron, lot number 591, $250 minimum bid for Charles Remieux and his New Stompers Orchestra. Ain't she sweet? She is pretty sweet, Jack. Lot number 592 is Electron, Australian label. Okay, Embassy, lot number 593. Esta, another flexi disc. That one would probably be kind of hard to track. Some of these thin discs like that tend to develop little warps and divots and so forth. I mean, it can be done, but you got to fiddle with them. Here's Gamage, UK label, lot number 595. Gloria, lot number 596. The Grafton High Grade, lot 597. Grand Prix, 598. It's another think that one is Australian label. This is Guardsman, $5.99. A different Guardsman, $600. Invicta, it's kind of pretty. This is Kildare. You'll notice this Kildare is actually a paste-over sticker on top of an English Aeolian record. Lot number 603. I think Kildare was the name of the department store that was selling that particular record, if I'm not mistaken. But I very well am mistaken, so don't take that to the bank. Lot number 604 by the Cabaret Jazz Orchestra, the Ludgate record. Magnice, a French recording, lot number 605, also a little flexible, lightweight record, Malato, lot number 606. Okay, up next, Metropole, Musola. That is also a paste over, lot number 608. Actually, that's a double paste over. We have Musola label on top of this label, which is on top of yet another label. How about that? Okay. National label by Billy Williams, lot number 609. Opera, lot number 610. Pampa. That is lot number 611. Argentine label. This is a very nice, attractive label, this Pathé Actuel. We've got a brown disc with a lilac label and the gold and red, just very, very nice. Lot number 612. Ringphone with the Bulldog, another attractive label, lot 615. The Salabert with a bird on it. I know we had pictured this in the previous highlights reel, but it's still a very nice record. Lot number 621, special record. The Australian Star record, 622. Eventually, we're going to run out of these Australian labels, and if you haven't picked up one, you're going to lose out. So get them while you can. We're getting down to the end of them. This is lot number 623, Summit, on brown wax. Serena Grand, that mysterious rag by Sadie Johnson and Pete Brown, lot number 624, $15 minimum bid on that. Volksbund der Musikfreunde from Berlin, lot number 626. Westport, 627. World Echo, 628. And to close out the foreign labels, we've got this Zonophone test pressing by Flory Ford, Take Me on the Switchback, lot number 629. We were going to play that in a bit of request show, and I don't think it happened. All right, so that takes care of our labels. I'm going to show a few things here which are not necessarily rare, but I'm just going to show them because I know that we've got some people watching our videos who may not have ever seen anything like this before. This is a Hit of the Week record. These were made by the Durium Company here in the United States. They are single-sided cardboard discs. Sometimes we have printing on the back here, sometimes we don't, but obviously very flexible. These sound great. If you find them without being all creased and bent up or having needle digs, needle runs, and so forth, the sound of these is just amazing. These were released in the early 1930s and sold on newsstands, generally for 15 cents a piece. They're not very rare, but they're a lot of fun. Some of them are very, very rare. We had a cover lot of Mysterious Moe's a number of years ago, and that probably brought hundreds of dollars, but the whole thing sold as a collection, so can't really say what that one specifically would have brought. These are Vogue picture records. Okay, so you may have never seen a Vogue before. These are very common. They were made in Detroit at the Vogue factory, a Tom Safety organization. Um, Very, very collectible. Not as rare as people thought they were. These things sold for an awful lot more money back before eBay. Once eBay came around, all of a sudden people realized they're not nearly as rare. However, there are some that are extremely rare and can bring easily 10,000 bucks. Here's an interesting one. Vogue, for whatever reason, misprints and factory rejects seem to escape the factory on a regular basis. They turn up frequently, and they're stamped factory reject right here. I think maybe Mr. Safety didn't really care so much, so as long as they were stamped reject, he didn't much care what happened to them, so these were taken home by employees. Just an interesting curio. All right, so Victor issued picture records. In fact, we'll go to one of those right now, which most of you are probably familiar with. Here, for instance, is the Caruso picture disc. These were issued in the 1930s. Very, very collectible. They didn't do a whole lot of them, but they're all very attractive and nice music and all kinds of different music. So this one is a two-sided record of Caruso. This was the last photograph of Caruso before his death. And of course, these are acoustic sides because Caruso died before the advent of electrical recording. It's got a $250 minimum bid. When someone says a Victor picture record, that's what they're thinking about. However, Victor also published some picture records a little bit later than that. Here's an example of one of those for children. This is Matey Visits New York. So you have a book here, contains RCA Victor recording with sound effects. So here's your book. And as you can see, this is in just beautiful condition. And in the back here, you've got your Victor record right here. It is a picture record. You pull it out, and there's a design in the grooves. And it should be noted that when we say picture record, it means that there is a picture in the grooved area. Okay. The picture is only here in the middle, but the grooves don't have a picture design in them, then technically it is not a picture disc. All right, so that's what we mean when we say a picture record. Here's another one like the Matey recording. This is Hiawatha's Childhood. I'm not going to pull it out of the bag, but it also would have a picture record in the back of the book. All right. This is a very attractive picture record. Lot numbers, Jack. Lot numbers. That was Matey was lot number 799. Hiawatha number 800, and this is lot number 802. This is a really nice picture disc of what's her name, Cinderella. Lot number 802. This is issued by Pathé in France. And there we have the flip side of that. So that's something that would be of great interest to Disney collectors. Now we see some lamb separation right here on the side and a little bit of chipping along the edge. This, unfortunately, is relatively common for picture discs where we get this lamination separation. In this case, I don't think that affects the playing at all. The track's okay. But it is noted in the catalog as being a defect. I want people to understand what it is that they are actually bidding upon. This is a papal recording from 1950, lot number 803. All right, very nice shape. And then we have a section of children's picture records. I'm only going to show this one because it's pretty rare. You know, I mean, in fact, it's very, very rare. I honestly don't recall even having any of these in the past. This is an American picture disc from around 1941, manufactured by the Charles Eckart Company in Hollywood. The flip side of these have a little bit of information about the record and with the text of the tune. So there are 3 or 4 of these in the catalog, and I don't think I put any specific minimum bids on them. I just didn't notice that when I was lotting the catalog, or when I was putting minimum bids on them. And it was probably only have like $3 or $5 minimum bids, which would be quite a steal if they went for that. Those are very rare. All right, the next category we're going to look at are the Emerson Talking Books. You'll find those on page 12 of your auction catalog. And by auction catalog, I'm talking about this one right here. This is auction 69. If you do not have a copy of this, you can get it on our website, 78rpm.com. You can download the PDF. It's exactly the same as this, same pagination and everything. So if you turn to page 12, you will see what we're going to be discussing next. Your Emerson Talking Books were made in the late teens. They are pretty rare. You don't see them very often. And that's largely on account of the fact that they just they didn't hold up all that well. A lot of them were intended for children. They're cardboard with small flexible records that just kind of get messed up. So these are very, very collectible. There are people who really are looking for these things, and you're going to see why here in just a moment. Although it was kind of mostly a kiddie record thing, it wasn't exclusively kiddie records, as we will see. So let's start with lot number 896. This is unfortunately only part of it. This is there would have been a record that went along with this, but because these things are so rare, we are listing things even without the records attached, because sometimes you'll have a record and you need the backing, sometimes the other way around. This, believe me, will sell. This is lot number 846. More typical talking book fare would be this one. They called them talking books because, like the Hiawatha and Matey in New York lots that we just looked at, they are designed to be read and played. So here we have the Hudson's Bay Company Celebration 250th Anniversary, 1670 to 1920. So 250 years of that company being in existence. So here we have a spindle hole through the front cover. If we open that up, we see that we've got text here of the recording, and we have a record here. So you would just turn that all the way like so, put that on your turntable, and you would play the record. So when I say it's a talking book, it's admittedly not much of a book, but the idea is there. It's kind of a cool thing. And this one is very rare. That's got a $100 minimum bid on it. And I don't know that that was issued in the United States. That may have only been sold in Canada. Here is lot number 850. And this is the Mockingbird. So this is the more typical type of talking book that one would see. This was what was made for children, a die-cut figure representing whatever it is that's recorded in the grooves. This one is in really nice shape. On the back we have the Mockingbird, a little bit of text here, not necessarily what they're saying on the record, but something about Mockingbird, something about whatever. And produced exclusively by Talking Book Corporation down there at the bottom. And the copyright date on that one is 1918. So there were a number of different animals that were done, some of which we have in this catalog and some which we have featured in past auctions, but those are pretty cool. You can see how something like that would get torn up pretty quickly by your average child. Lot number 851, Battle of the Marne. There were a number of talking books that had to do with World War I. So here's the same kind of an idea. A little bit of text there, some nice graphics. There's your record attached to that, and the tune and music on the back. That's copyright 1917. Again, lot number 851 with a $100 minimum bid. Here is another World War I themed issue. Lot number 852 from 1919. Submarine Attack. Isn't that wonderful? Look at that. Wow. Spectacular blast there. Submarine sticking up out of the ocean. A talking book, it says. Here we go. The submarine attack. There's our record. Unfortunately, it's got a couple little divots there. That's fairly common for these. They are not as durable as normal shellac pressings. And here is the story on the record. Minimum bid on that, $25. Very rare, however. Minimum bids that we set in our auctions are meant to reflect roughly 50% of what we expect the record will ultimately bring, based on its rarity, condition, and demand. Here is lot number 853 from 1919, The Victory Book, a tribute to America's ideals and glorious achievements, a talking book. So this is a little bit more substantial. We've got a larger disc. We've got a little bit more text. Oh, look at that, Jack. More pages. We're actually getting to see something more akin to a book here. And a second record inside the back. Very nice, very nice, and in good shape. And these corners are not clipped. They may look like somebody's trimmed it, but that's not the case. You can see that the design here reflects that with the black border all around. So here we have some notable figures that were involved in the Great War. President Wilson here at the top. Here's General Pershing and so forth. A very nice historical piece. $100 minimum on that. That graded E-. Few little lamination cracks in the record, but nothing to be upset about. Okay, going back to our figures. This is lot number 854. This is the I Am a Parrot, is what this is called. Here we see a little chipping right at the end of the beak, where a little piece of paper is flaked off. Unfortunately, that's very common, and this is in much better shape than you would expect to find them, even with that little piece of paper missing. I Am a Parrot. And even these were patriotic in nature. Here, I love to talk about the war. I love to cheer for Pershing and all the brave American soldier boys. Hooray for Pershing! Hooray for the American soldiers! And 3 big cheers for my adopted country, America. I have no hyphen in my name. It is just plain Polly Parrot. Very interesting. And somewhat instructive. Let's move on to lot number 855. Let's see what this one is. Okay, 855 is another copy of the Mockingbird. This one you can see is missing the beak and is faded and not as good a condition as what we saw before. All right. This is a different matrix number, which is why it is listed in as its own lot number. Sometimes you'll find different takes on these as well. Here is lot number 856, the Mother Goose Talking Book. We're going through each one of these individually because these are things that you just don't see. And if we don't do this video, there's stuff here that people will never know anything about. So while we've got such a nice selection, I figured it would be nice to show them. Mother Goose Talking Book. Here is our record. Here's our text, the story of old Mother Goose. And a second record on the flip side of that. And the story of Little Bo Peep. Isn't that nice? And there she is on the back. $50 opener on that. It's in pretty nice shape. What do we have next? This is lot number 857. This is I Am Your Uncle Sam. Looks like Uncle Sam didn't do so well in the war. He's missing a leg. He's missing a foot. He's missing part of his hat. But anyway, that's what he looks like. Record's still there. We'll actually be seeing something shortly that will actually show you what old Uncle Sam would look like when he came out of the factory. That's slot number 857. And very minimum bid, probably $3, which somebody's going to want just for that record that's attached to the cardboard. Here is lot number 858. I Am a Dancing Girl. There we go. This one turns up probably more frequently than a lot of the others, probably just because little girls would prefer to have something like this than the hippopotamus or something. You can see that the bottom, the foot there is kind of loose. It's badly creased, so we got to be pretty careful with that. But it is still attached. Okay, this is Christmas Carol. I Am a Talking Bell, and here you would have a place for your inscription to grandmother from her adoring, precious little grandson. The record on the back. The other ones have the record on the front. This one has a record on the back for whatever reason. $50 minimum bid. That's a scarce one. 1918 copyright. Okay, this is really cool. We played this on the Bitter Request show. This is the Rotary Club recording for Toledo. Original sleeve with the compliments of Rotary Club of Toledo, Ohio, produced by the Talking Book Corporation. And we have a Rotary Club or Rotary Toledo label on here. These records are also known to exist with just the Talking Book label. But here's what really makes it cool. Why We're Strong for Toledo. Toledo's 14 points. I'm not going to read them to you. I read them on the Bitter Request show. And if you haven't seen the Bitter Request show, you can do so on Saturday and Sunday, April 3rd and 4th. And Saturday and Sunday, April 10th and 11th of 2021. If it's too late and you can't tune in because it's after those dates, the Bitter Request show is available for a mere $20 for, in this case, 13 solid hours of entertainment recordings taken directly from Auction 69. And holy cow, Jack, did we play some stuff or what?
We played some stuff.
We played some amazing stuff. So you're going to want to listen to that. This kind of ties in. There's a lot of records that you're going to be seeing here in this video that we actually played. So the whole auction thing is an experience, okay? It's a catalog. It's the thrill of the hunt. It's the bidding and thinking and hoping and maybe raising your bid because you just don't know. And then the Bitter Request show where you get to hear, in this case, probably 150 different sides taken out of the auction. Good sides. Really amazing, fascinating things. The highlight video where you can see stuff you're never going to see anywhere else, like the hippopotamus, for gosh sakes. How many of these have you seen? Right? No, not many, Jack.
Saw a couple in the zoo one time.
Did you really?
But they were missing the record.
That's too bad. Lot number 861, minimum bid $75. Yeah, we only do the auctions twice a year, so we got to make a big deal out of them when they happen. Okay, lot number 862, The Night Before Christmas. That's very rare. I don't know if I've ever seen another copy of this one. There you go. Poem on the back. Look at that, Jack. $25. You can buy it right now. But I guess it's probably not going to go for that, even though the minimum bid was $25. Okay, this is cool. This is probably my favorite of the Talking Book issues that we've got in this catalog. It's a pretty ordinary looking record. It's not attached to anything. It's just a record. Lot number 863 with a $150 minimum bid. Unfortunately, we have some lamination cracks here, but they will track. What's cool about this is look at this. Look at this. Talking Books, Talking Animals for the Children. Sole distributors for Michigan and Indiana, the Michigan Drug Company. Look at that. Prices from 25 cents to $2. And there's the Mother. Is that the Mother Goose one? I think so. My eyeballs aren't what they used to be, but I think that's the Mother Goose one that we looked at earlier. Here's a dancing girl. We saw her. Here is Uncle Sam as he originally looked. Here is the Mockingbird. Here is the parrot. Here is the crying baby. And here is the Scotsman. And then there were many others as well. The fox and the, well, many others. Many others. But to have those all pictured on there. Unfortunately, this is not a demo record in the sense that when you listen to it, they're talking about it. It's just got a song on it. But still, just for that graphic on the back, that is awesome. That will not sell for $150, Jack. I'm just here to tell you. I'm not saying that because I've seen what the bids are on it. I'm saying that because I just know that is going to be a sought-after record. All right, this is cool. This is awesome. The Singing Frog. Isn't that great? This is on the front cover. In fact, this one, lot number 863, and this one, 864, were our front cover lots. Right there. We like to put something really cool on the front cover. This is by no means the rarest or most expensive record in the catalog, not even close. But it is just visually so cool, right? Mr. Frog sitting there on a toadstool.
Frog stool.
The frog stool, that's right. Jack pointed out in a bit of request show that this would not be a toad. Why is it not a toad, Jack?
I think Mark has the answer to that.
Well, a toad has warts, doesn't have smooth skin like a frog, and a toad hops, whereas a frog leaps. There's a couple of things right there for you. So, in each auction, you're going to have, see here in your table of contents, certain categories that you will always find. I don't know if you can see this, Jack. If not, don't worry about it. But you'll have things like classical, opera, country, diamond discs, cylinders, acoustic records, whatever. Okay, so those you will always find in here. But you also, in every auction, you will find categories that very seldom, if ever, come up. Maybe have never come up before and never will again. The talking book section is an example of that. I don't think we've ever listed just a plain talking book section in the catalog. But the one that we're going to look at now is Jeanette Special Pressings. Last auction we did Columbia?
Maybe, I don't know if it was last auction, but we did it recently.
Yeah. Recently we did Columbia Special Pressings, and by special pressing we mean something that was not available commercially where you could walk into the store and just buy the record. A lot of your companies sold or made their studios available to the public or to business concerns for special recordings. Certainly your big ones did. Columbia and Victor especially. Jeanette did. Paramount to a much, much lesser extent. Edison, very little of that. Just a tiny bit, but very little. Those are very, very rare. And then there are companies that were formed really specifically for that purpose. The Advertising Record Company in ARCO in the 1920s. That's really all they did. Flexo, New Flexo is another example that did a lot of that kind of stuff. The Emerson Talking Books, you saw there were several things there, like the Hudson's Bay thing, which was done for that company, probably contracted by the company just for their anniversary. So that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy personally. I love the oddball and the esoteric and the specialty things that you just never see anywhere else. So what we have coming up now are the Jeanette special pressings out of this catalog. This, again, is a category that you're probably not going to see again for many years to come. The reason being is that we've been collecting these things. They've just been piling up around here for probably 2 decades, and now it's time to let them go. So it'll be another long period of time before we get this many again. So these are sorted by matrix number, not sorted by label name. Some of them have special label names, some of them don't. But we're going to flip through each one. Here is the Jubilee Gospel Singers. So out of Muncie, Indiana, this is a group that would have paid Jeanette to record their own records so that they could have sold them at their concerts or to their fans, right? Lot number 866. Here is the Celtic label, a different Celtic label than we saw earlier. This one's spelled with a C instead of a K. Lot number 868. Another Irish thing, so we see the green and the gold, and the Irish Volunteer by Sean O'Farrell is the selection there. Next we have lot number 869. This looks like a typical Jeanette label, but what do we see here? We don't see a catalog number on it, so we know it's not a commercially issued recording. And right here at the top at 12 o'clock it says personal record. So that would be our two clues that we're looking at something a little bit of unusual. This is by the Banjo Saxo Orchestra. All right, this is a much later recording than what we just saw. By Yaroslav Simera. I assume I'm pronouncing that right. Lot number 871. We have another Simera recording. I don't know. We'll get to it eventually. But this is just a plain label, no real label name on it, but just something that Mr. Simera, who was a cornet player or a trombonist, recorded. We'll get to the other one later. All right, this is lot number 873. This was done specifically for who's Gold and Black, Jack?
Well, I guess that would be Purdue.
All right, so Purdue, a lot of your colleges contracted with various companies for their fight songs and so forth, and this is an example of that. Gold and Black was apparently their song, and it is on a gold and black Jeanette label. And here we have Hail Purdue on the other side. Jack, being an Indiana guy, knew he would know the answer to that question. Here's Hitch, lot number 874. What do you have here? Volland Christmas Wish Series. Interesting label design, 875. I think those, or that one, may have been issued in the Jeanette Christmas series as well, the same size. Here is another college label, Gold and Black, Men of Iowa, lot number 876. Here is the Viola Special, W-E-I-L-E Special. I'm not sure what Viola is. Maybe that was a store. But we have the Tremaine brothers on one side and Vernon Dalhart on the other side. It says ask for Viola songs, so maybe they were a publisher, probably a music publisher. Those were probably two Viola tunes on there. All right, here we have another one that says Personal Recording Department at the top, Jeanette, by Mrs. F.W. Kruger, soprano solo, lot number 878. Most all of these are going to be double-sided discs. Again, Personal Recording Department at the top. Joe Kaiser and his Novelty Orchestra. That's got a $50 minimum bid of some interest to jazz collectors. Lot number 879. Going back to white label pressing. O'Brien's Peerless Quintet, The Chic. Lot number 880. Personal Recording Department. This time a green and gold label. Lot number 881. Mckay. All right. By Mckay's Orchestra, Sing Me a Song About Old Dixie. Lot number 882. Here we have Terhune. Personal recording at the top. Lot number 883. This is by the Kentucky Lucky Four, accompanied by Max Terhune Whistler. And we've got Barnyard Imitations on the back where he does his whistling and imitations. The only Terhune I know is Albert Payson Terhune, who wrote a series of books about collies. I remember those from my childhood. Lot number 884. What does that say, Jack? Syncopating 5. It looks like. Personal recording. Doing Chicago. Again, it looks kind of like a Jeanette. Smells like a Jeanette. Plays like a Jeanette, but there's no catalog number. Lot number 884. All right, here we have a record that we played during the Bitter Request show. The Seven Brown Girls, personal record. Popular version of Thais by Mike Shade's 7 Brown Girls. I thought that was 7 brown girls, but actually it was 7 girls who were named Brown, as Roy Lane's research turned up for us. The 7 Brown Girls were a vaudeville act, and that's very cool when you get vaudeville acts who made recordings, otherwise their work by and large would be unknown to us. That's lot number 885. Oh, look at this, Jack. We've got a picture of the 7 Brown Girls. It's not a great picture, but there you go. Looks like 7 very white girls to me. They all look like they're about the same age, but I don't think that's possible. All musicians. They were not singers. They all had their own instruments. Okay. When we have information like that, we keep it tucked in with the record. Okay, what do we have here? Lawyers University. Never heard of Lawyers University.
I guess they got to go to school somewhere.
I guess you do. All right, lot number 886. If you're a lawyer, you're going to want to bid on that, right, Jack? Mm-hmm. Okay, West's. This is a, I guess, a pet store, bird food kind of organization. Largest manufacturer of the most complete line of bird products in the world. And here you can have a recording by them, lot number 887. Lot number 888 is Rotary Quartet, another Rotary Club situation. And that is from Ashland, Kentucky. That's where this particular Rotary group hails from, lot 888. Gypsy Simon Smith, who made other recordings as well. This is lot number 889. We played this one on the Bitter Request show. This is lot number 890. I Am Looking Daily for My Savior, sung by Evangelist Lewis, E.A. Lewis, playing his special make instrument, the mandola mandolin. And what we pointed out that was very interesting during the show is that it says here, regulate speed of this record right here. Doesn't tell you what speed, just be sure to regulate it. And there's Mr. Lewis's picture right there at 12 o'clock. Here we have the Club Rondeau Orchestra doing Jenny, lot number 891. Again, this would have been just some local band wanted to make some records up so they could sell them at the door of their gig. Lot number 892. The Soul record, S-O-U-L-E, by Ralph Soul Tenor. Some of these people are pretty good. Some of these people are probably not so good. But if you had the money, you could record either way. A lot of these people, not a lot, but some of these individuals who made their personal recordings, paid to have them made, initially actually went on to become significant artists in their own right, recording commercially. We're going to get to one of those here in a minute. This is the Earlham College. Mary Reed, Marjorie Harold, George Stump, and Ralph Ewing, accompanied by the Earlham Trio doing the Alma Mater. How about that? Lot number 893. I know you're going to want to add that to your collection. Here we have Zapateado by Robert Perutz on violin, doing a Sarasate composition, lot number 894. We played one of his records in the Bitter Request show. You'll see right up here the seal of the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. So Mr. Perutz, I'm not sure how we pronounce that, wrote The Evolution of Violin Playing. Let's see, I can't read my writing, Jack. He wrote The Evolution of Violin Playing during the last quarter century, 1900 to 1925. That came out in 1926. So a historical treatise on how violinists played during the early part of the 20th century. Lot number 895, Marion Mckay. We saw an earlier label with Mckay as being the label name. This is in the 20,000 series, which was kind of a personal series. You'll see those 20,000 numbers. Here's another example of that personal record by Schoenbeck's Orchestra. Roy Schoenbeck, manager. Okay, they're doing Wow Wow Blues. And another 20,000 series catalog number. Here we have 20,00032 on lot number 897. And this is Al Thompson's Collegians from Madison, Wisconsin. Next up, Gypsy Simon Smith, another one of those on the 20,000 series label. He made recordings for other labels as well. This is lot number 899, Orange Blossom Time by Joy Lichter's Strand Symphonists. Here we are. Next up is lot number 900, the Roll, R-O-E-L-L, Roll label by T. Gregory Roll. Whoever Mr. Roll was, lot number 900. You know, some of these people may be significant. Some of these individuals may be historically interesting. We didn't have time to look everybody up, but we looked up some of them and found some very interesting things. Here is the Trainer record. German water organ. This is for training your canaries to sing. All right, so you're not going to hear, you may actually hear some canaries on here as well, but you're going to hear the organ playing as well to get those birds doing what they're supposed to be doing. Lot number 901. A lot of different canary training and parrot training records that were made. Here's another Cincinnati Conservatory of Music label. Lot number 902, also by Mr. Perutz, and we played that one during the show. Here is a Vaughn label, another Jeanette product, lot number 903, Hold or Newt, played by the author, Mr. Shaw, and we played that on the Bitter Request show. That has a pretty high minimum bid. $250, 78 quarterly suggests that there are approximately 4 records of that, copies of that record known to exist. Yeah, this is interesting. This is the Standfield label, lot number 904. We played this on the show. I want to read what it says here. This is a side we played. Oh Baby by Charles M. Stanfield. The Caruso of the Colored Race, piano accompaniment by Jesse Crump. So that's pretty interesting. And it has a $25 minimum bid. It will sell for more than that, if for no other reason than Mr. Crump is playing on it. The second side of this is they needed a songbird in heaven, so God took Caruso away. And I guess that's when Mr. Stanfield stepped into the gap. Okay. Lot number 905, Community Chautauquas. 906, Yugoslavia, Jewelry and Phonograph Company. Right? So the wife comes in to buy her husband a phonograph. He goes in and buy her some jewelry. It's the way to do it. Number 907, Westbrock. It's kind of hard reading this Old English or German style type upside down. By Henry J. Westbrock. Lot number 907. Flip side of that is a blank label. Just got the his name and title on it. Maybe he didn't have enough money to get labels printed for side 2. Pity. Here's another one, Westbrock 907. Is that a dupe? Yes, it is. We got 2 copies of that and the dupe. Sad to say. Also has a white label on the back. He was really digging deep to get those records made. But in a situation like that, high bidder will get the better copy. Second high bidder gets the second copy. But it's not neither one of those copies will be below whatever it says in the catalog. So if, for instance, we had a V plus copy and a V plus plus copy, it would be listed as a V plus in the catalog. So if you wind up getting a record V plus or a V plus plus, for instance, and it said V plus, you probably got the higher grade copy of a record where we had more than one example. On the other hand, if you get an E minus copy and it said V plus, that was a mistake, and you're welcome to let us know. We probably pulled the wrong condition copy. Okay, lot number 908, Jubilee Gospel Singers. I think we may have run across them before. Maybe not, I don't know. Lot number 909. This is Chase's Collegians. I wonder, it says made for the artist down below. I was just wondering if that might have been Chase and Sanborn, but I don't think so. This is a very typical Jeanette type of style with this kind of a chain border around the edge. Lot number 910, Standard Publishing Company, Cincinnati. Lot number 911, Premier Records, Cincinnati, Ohio. Here we go. All right, here is Perfection by Carl Summers. I Have Got the Rheumatiz. How come we didn't play that, Jack? I bet that was good. I Got the Rheumatiz. Lilinus Publishing Company, another music publisher. Lot number 913. Here is Shields by Harry K. Shields. Lot number 914. There's that border I was talking about a moment ago. Another example of that border. This is Morton from Richmond, Indiana. They didn't have to go far. Lot number 915. The Morton High School Symphony Orchestra. Just a little afternoon field trip to the Jeanette Company. Make our record and go home. Be back in time for dinner. Special. Special is a quote label name you find on a lot of these things done by various labels. Call them Special. Lot number 916. And here we are hearing Mr. Edward M. Cornelius Evangelist from Winona Lake, Indiana. You know where that is, Jack?
No, I don't.
I don't either. Lot number 917, Kelly. Now this guy, he had a little bit more folding money in his pocket. He got not only labels on both sides, but his picture drawn on there. So that's pretty sweet. I think he was a vaudevillian as well. He's credited on the label as the Hollywood Wonder Boy, and for the Kelly Phonograph Record Company, Pittsburgh, PA, and Hollywood, California. Man, this guy really had something going. 2 locations for his little venture there. And here's another record by him. 918. That was 917 we just saw. So here's a 918 with a crack in it. Okay, now we've just stumbled across one of the important records in the auction. This is the Gurney Label. Again, another Jeanette special pressing, lot number 919, $250 minimum bid. And I mentioned earlier, sometimes the guys who would record one of these or pay to record one of these would go on to fame and fortune, and Lawrence Welk most certainly did. This was his first recording, or from his first recording session. He did 2 records in that session, one which was issued on the Gurney label, his own deal, and the other one which was actually issued as a new Electra Beam. Both of which are fantastically rare. We sold the Electra Beam in the last catalog? Fairly recently, I don't remember. They're both quite rare and great records. We played this on the Bitter Request show. My friends, if you didn't know who it was, there's no way you'd ever guess Lawrence Welk. That is a fabulous record. Spiked Beer. Flip side is Shanghai Honeymoon. Okay, lot number 920. To Shep's Gang, a talk by Arthur P. Hall, president of the Lincoln National Life Insurance Company, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I bet you know where Fort Wayne is.
I do indeed.
And this is a 12-inch Jeanette on the Reamer label by Louis Reamer, 15 years old, on violin. We played this record in the show. 12-inch Jeanettes are not something you run across every day, either special pressings or commercial issues. So Mr. Reamer's, young Master Reamer's parents must have had some money to pay for that. But it paid off. He studied at the Brussels Conservatory. He taught at the University of Kansas. Died sometime around 1940 or so. So he went on to a little bit of fame in the violin world. Here we have lot number 922. I'm Homesick for Heaven by Cap, Andy, and Flip, a vocal trio. A little group out of West Virginia. We played that on the Bitter Request show. Very nice record. Campbell recording, lot number 923. Here we have the Vagabonds, 924. And lot number 925 is Montgomery Moore Company out of Elkhart, Indiana. Mr. R.T. Williams doing Our Duty. And that takes care of our Jeanette special pressing section. Quite a few records there, and some really interesting material, both musically as well as historically. Okay, we actually wound up skipping a couple of Jeanette special pressings because they were elsewhere, being 12-inch records. Here is lot number 867. Stephen Foster Melodies, a Foster Hall recording. It's pretty cool. Label U.S. Marine Band on that. And here is Morrison Recording Labs from Geneva, Illinois. Lot number 870. They did a number of recordings. And this we played on the Bitter Request show. We didn't play the flip side of this, did we? We were going to do that. That's too bad. Chimera, who we saw earlier, or Samara, however that is, was a trombonist, and we were going to play his side on here, but we did not. But we did play this side by Ernest Petchin, his cornet solo, the phenomenal polka. And we've got a little piece of paper here on that, which came out of New Amarillo Graphic. Here's Mr. Ernest Petchin, and talking about his instructional recordings. Both Mr. Petchin as well as Mr. Samara on trombone put together methods of cornet and trombone instruction, which are still being used to this day. Great record, man. We played that during the show, and if we ever run across it again, we will play the trombone side. Okay, so that takes care of our Jeanette special pressings. Now we're going to move into a category of demonstration records. These are records which are all 12-inch. We didn't put any 10s in this auction. So they're demo, promo things, either to promote new record releases by whatever label it is, or to demonstrate some sort of a phonograph or something. So here we have the former. This is an HMV recording. A whole series of these were made. Record Sampler, September 1932, demonstration record not for sale. So here you would hear kind of little snippets of various releases from that month, so that the dealer would have an idea of what he would want to stock in his store. Kind of get a heads up on what the new popular tunes were, and be sure he has that stuff available when it was announced to the public. Here is a Philco demonstration record, lot number 941. Oh, by the way, this last one is lot number 929, in case I failed to mention it. There's a whole series of these different issues on these HMV demonstration discs in our current catalog. This one is a demonstration record for a Philco radio, which was very cool because it had a tone control. That was something that hadn't been around before, tone control. Today you take tone control for granted, but back then that was a pretty cool thing. Here we have the Pathé demonstration record. This is number 2. There was an earlier one. This is a very, very common record, but it is vertically recorded, which means if you don't have a way of playing a vertical record, you're going to have a hard time really listening to this. It is some of your demonstration records, they talk about the phonograph, they talk about the recording method and so forth, and others it's just musical. And that would be the case for these. It's just music recording on these. Slot number 942. Here is the Philco demonstration record. Produced by the Wallace Armstrong Company, sponsored by the Philadelphia Storage Battery Company. reproduced at 78 RPM. This is a special demonstration recording and is not to be broadcast. All right, that's a different record from the Philco recording we saw earlier. This is a series that Victor produced. Special pressing, not for sale, compliments of RCA Victor. Just another something here to try to drum up sales. Victor also produced a series of Christmas recordings for their dealers and distributors. Here is their 1942 issue, Liebestod from Tristan und Isolde by Toscanini, lot number 947. So that's 1942, single-sided recording. These are vinyl, by the way, made from the same sort of thing that V-discs were. Here's their 1945 Christmas Greetings record by John McCormick. Another single-sided disc. Here is another copy of that, a duplicate. Here is lot number 949 from 1946, Marcel Journet. Nice red vinyl pressing there. And this is Marcel Journet, La Marseillaise, 1944 Christmas issue, lot number 952. And there was a 10-inch Christmas record that was issued as well, which is not in this catalog since we were only running the 12-inch diameter records this time around. Here's your Story and Clark Story Tone, voiced by RCA Victor Demonstration 10, lot number 951. This is a 2-record set. And finally, we have this RCA Victor commemorative recording. Look at this. Commemorating an achievement for music lovers, huh? Look at this, Jack. 1 billion records.
Man, those music lovers worked really hard to get there.
I am telling you, man, that's a lot of record buying right there, my friend. Tell Me Pretty Maiden from Florodora by Wes Osman Banjo. It says on here that this is the oldest RCA Victor master record that they had in their archive. Isn't that something? That's pretty cool. Flip side was Semper Fidelis by Serge Koussevitzky and the Boston Symphony Orchestra, recorded October 14th, 1940. Nice red wax pressing there. Next round, here we go with just a couple of children's records. We have a children's records category in this auction, as we usually do. This is a nice picture label of the 3 pigs. Disney theme going there, lot number 1008. Here's another one, Snow White. Nice color picture labels by the French branch of His Master's Voice. 2-record set with, I'm not going to pull it out, but there is an original sleeve with that. Very nice. Hard to find with the original sleeve. Here is a set. Some of our bidders may remember Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. Here we have the original sleeve with the recording, and it's signed by Jack Fascinato, who was the writer. And here we have Ollie, Fran, and Kukla. Burr, who was he was associated with them, Burr Tillstrom, and signed to Alfred. So young Alfred got himself a very nice autographed copy of that record. Here we have Little Red Riding Hood. This is doesn't turn up very often with the original cover. This is very early. This is made by the Vulcan Record Company, Junior Operettas label. They only made like a couple of issues. They made this children's record set, and they made a kind of a sample Vulcan pressing, and that was about all we ever heard from them. All right, this is pretty cool. We have some very, very rare and historically important recordings in this auction by the JVB label out of Detroit. That stood for Joe Von Battle. He had a shop originally on Hastings Street in Detroit, and when they tore that up to make room for the Chrysler Expressway, he had to relocate. But here we have a series of JVB metal stampers. So this would have actually been used to press Eddie Burns' Treat Me Like I Treat You. This is Matrix 82 from 1957. That only has a $25 minimum bid. To be able to get something that's that significant from a historically important recording company is not something that happens every day. And if that record goes for $25, then there were a lot of people who weren't paying attention. That could actually be used to press a record today. That is a negative, so you're not going to be able to play that on your phonograph. Number one, it would have to go backwards, and number two, instead of a V-shaped groove, you've got a groove like this. So you would have to have a bifurcated stylus like this to be able to track on the top of that groove to reproduce it properly. But it's still a very neat piece to hang on your wall in your music room. Here is another JVB stamper, this time for a 45 RPM record. From 1959, that is Emmett Slay and his Sleigh Riders. Don't Blame It on Me. Either one of those records, if they were shellac pressings, would be pretty expensive discs. We have other JVB recordings, regular shellac pressings in the catalog, which we will show to you later. All right, in your catalog, we have a section of vinyl test pressings. And you will find that on page, let's see here, 16. So if you turn to page 16, you will see at the top of the page there a listing of 10-inch followed by 12-inch vinyl operatic and classical tests. Now these pretty much all of these were done well after the fact in terms of when the original recordings were made. These were done either for collectors to hear what these, a lot of these were unissued takes or matrices, so collectors or dealers would have had them pressed up to see what was on them, see if it was something really worthwhile. Or they would have been test pressings, in this case, for instance, by a company like Historic Masters. Historic Masters was a company which actually produced a whole series of vinyl reissues. And this would have been a test that they had pressed up to determine whether or not this is something that they wanted to have or to release on their label. This is much earlier than that. This would have been done in the late 1940s when they did the Heritage series on red wax, or those, you've seen those, perhaps those gold foil sleeves that get torn up so easily. So this would have been a test pressing for that to see if it was a recording that would have warranted reissue. Some of the vinyl tests like this have no label information at all, and you have to go by what's recorded in them and the information in the runout area to determine whether or not, or what it actually was. This is lot number 1063. That previous one that I showed you was 1059. The Historic Masters test was 1058. Sorry for getting to bring that up. Here's lot number 1064. Some of them just have a white slug here. In this case, all it says is piano. Not a whole lot of information. But all of the ones that we have in the catalog have been identified. Lot number 1064 there. Here is one with a Columbia Records label. Again, this is later than this particular record would have been issued. But it's still pressed from the original metal parts, lot number 1084. The reason that these are very desirable is because even though they were made later, they're made on a much quieter surface. This vinyl is going to be far superior to the original recording surfaces in most cases. And so if you're really interested in getting the best quality sound out of your 78s, this is what you would want to have. Here's lot number 1107. This was a special pressing that was done up possibly by the Midwest Phonograph Museum. I got these from them. They were using these to demonstrate machines and recording technology. And so it's very possible that they had that done, possibly through the Indiana plant. And then here's one a much later pressing, also on red wax. Says here unpublished on the bottom. So this was a matrix that never saw the light of day, and we got a lot more of those. I just wanted to pull out a few examples so you kind of get a feel for what they look like and what the label situation was. Okay, now we're going to move into some foreign and ethnic recordings. This is very nice. I'll go ahead and pull this out. This is a Perfectophone label in a very nice original Perfectophone sleeve. This is French, as you can see. Picture of the angel here with records just spilling out of her harp or her lyre as she's playing that. Isn't that wonderful? Very, very nice condition. Very nice record. I don't know if that has any special minimum bid on it. Probably just $3, $4 maybe. We have some Greek recordings in this catalog. This one is on the Greek National Opera Records label. Looks like a Marsh autograph thing. From lot number one, or is lot number 1778. It's got a crack in it, and therefore we have it on this cardboard backing to keep it from getting messed up. This is also a Marsh autograph Greek record company. Here we see the Marsh designation here at the bottom, lot number 1795. And probably our most significant recordings in the ethnic category, at least as far as discs are concerned, would be these two recordings on the American Record Company label by the Royal Hawaiian Troubadours. These were recorded around 1905 and are the very first disc records recorded by Hawaiian performers. So that makes them very historically interesting and special from a recorded sound perspective. This one has this kind of rough area that's going to swish, but it still plays well, and you can see that your ARC records were blue wax. About 1905. That's got a $100 minimum bid. This one has a $250 minimum bid because it does not have the rough area. But they're two totally different recordings. Very, very rare. Possibly recorded late 1904. We don't really have exact information on those recording sessions. Okay, moving on to our operatic and classical section. We mentioned during the Bitter Request show that Nellie Melba had her own record label, and in fact, we played one of them, not this particular one, in the Bitter Request show. Her records were titled Melba Record, as you see here, Gramophone Melba Record. She was one of three artists who got special consideration from the Gramophone Company in order to induce her to record. The other two were Francesco Tamagno and Adelina Patti. We do not have any Patti records in this particular catalog, or at least none with her special label. But we do have Melbas and Tamagnos. So this is what it would have looked like in England for the gramophone pressings. You would have the recording angel here, logo at the top on a lilac background label with her signature at the bottom, Nellie Melba. Very celebrated soprano internationally from Australia. That's lot number 2510. Her American recordings look like this. Same deal. You had Victor Melba record, a totally different label design with nipper and the phonograph, or the gramophone there. And again, her signature at the bottom, Nellie Melba, but more on a white background label. This is lot number 2511. Each of these have $50 minimum bids. Now I mentioned that Tamagno had his own thing going on, so instead of a special color or Tamagno record designation, he got serial numbers. So on these gramophone pressings, you have a little tag that sticks out from the label here with an individual serial number on it, which is stamped in order to keep track of the number of copies sold, so he would be sure to get his royalties. So that was a very unusual, if not unique, situation for a recording artist to have that kind of care and attention. This is a creator recording from Otello. He created the role of Otello, and we played that in the Bitter Request show. This is This is a Tamaño Victor record. Same deal, only it's got a Victor label instead of a Gramophone Company label. Doesn't have his name special as part of the label name, but here we have that serial number. On the Victors, they were stamped on just directly on the label, whereas on the Gramophone Company recordings, there was that little tag that stuck out from the label edge. But basically the same idea. He got his own, he got his royalties regardless of where that record was marketed and sold. Okay, we have, I think, only one example in this particular catalog of a 12-inch Edison needle cut. There were only 7 different issues made in the 12-inch needle cut series. This is the last one, record number 47007, our lot number 4143 with a $150 minimum bid by the Roth String Quartet. This is parts 3 and 4, so 47006 would be parts 1 and 2. If you've got 1 and 2, that will complete your set. We have a selection of World War II recordings in this catalog, and this kind of kicks them off. The First Invasion Reports, D-Day H Hour at NBC. Very historically significant record, $50 minimum bid. You are going to hear on this the actual radio broadcast that day. I think we may have played that, or at least part of it, on a previous Bid Request show. Here's Madame Chiang Kai-shek, a speech by her done in 1943. Again, this is unfortunately only parts 3 and 4, but that will still sell for a significant amount of money. Here is a recording by Marshal Pétain of France, and this was done in 1940. This is on the Pathé Marconi, for the Pathé Marconi Company, even though it's not labeled that way at the top here. Here is a several record set. It looks like 5 records. And this is Field Marshal Smuts from South Africa addressing both houses of Parliament. And that was done October 21st, 1942. He's introduced by David Lloyd George.
What's that lot number there, Kurt?
Lot number on that, Jackson. Thank you, Jack. 4373, Jack, would be the lot number on that. Here's a recording which we had a request for the Bid Request show, but we couldn't play it because we played it in like auction 47, I believe, Bid Request show. But this is the only 12-inch record issued by George M. Cohan. Of course, he wrote a lot of music, but he also did a little recording as well. In 1911, he did a series of Victors on the Purple Label series, which was their kind of their vaudeville series. All of them were 10-inch except for this one. P.S. Mr. Johnson sends regards. That has a $250 minimum bid. E- condition. Very nice. Okay, and to close out that World War II section, we had a series of recordings by Charlie and his orchestra. This shows you. This isn't the best label to show you. It's got scratched out on this side. You'll learn when shortly. But the Charlie recordings did not have a label name. They just had a designer at the top. And so that's what they're known by, just the design. And that's how they're referred to. These recordings were not commercially issued. These were done by Nazi Germany for broadcast into the UK for propaganda purposes. So these are typically American tunes, swing tunes usually, set to music with propaganda lyrics. And they are fascinating to listen to. Very anti-Semitic in many cases, and of course continual slams on Churchill, Stalin, and Roosevelt. But amazing historical artifacts. Because these were only issued for broadcast, the numbers that they were pressed in are very, very minuscule. And they were only just sent to the radio stations from which they were broadcast. So this particular example was sent to Radio Athens when the Nazis took over Greece. Of course, one of the first things they would have been doing would be to take over all the broadcasting and media facilities in the country. So they started broadcasting from that location in Athens. I don't know the story about this record. There's a whole write-up in the catalog. We talked about it at length in the Bitter Request show, so I'm not going to go into it here, but I'll just make note of the fact that the tag on the top says, presented to Leslie Perrone by Radio Athens, June 1945, and scratched into the label area is Frei, which means free in German, and what appears to me to be Poli, Poli, which means city in Greek. I don't know, maybe that doesn't mean Poli. Maybe it's an abbreviation for something. I have no idea. But it looks like this, and the scratch that we see on this side was done by someone who probably didn't really take too well to the Nazi occupation. And this was a little indication of resistance on the part of someone, perhaps someone who was working there at the studio. Did this happen when the Nazis were actually running things, or was this done after they had fled? I have no idea. But it's again, a very important and fascinating historical document. It's got a minimum bid of $500. The other Charlie recordings that are listed in the catalog have minimum bids ranging, I think, from $50, I suppose, up to $250 a piece. Okay, another category in this current auction that doesn't turn up in most auctions, in fact, it's probably been 10 years since we've done it, is a category for sports recordings. So we're going to show a few of those. This is a record by Brother Bones. You may not know Brother Bones, but I guarantee you know his tune Sweet Georgia Brown, which was the theme song from the Harlem Globetrotters. Well, my granddad used to take me to their games, and you'd have Meadowlark Lemon, and those guys were a hoot. But Sweet Georgia Brown was their theme song, and that was done by Brother Bones, who would play the bones with his hands. And many of those discs had the official Globetrotters theme song picture here on the back, featured in the Columbia picture, the Harlem Globetrotters. I've never seen that picture. That'd be interesting to watch. Most of these records just have a blank side, but this one has an interview on the back recorded here. So that's kind of cool. Again, it's not a rare record, but it's a lot of fun. And there were several different versions, several different label names and styles that those were issued with. One of the highlights in our auction catalog is lot number 4583. By the way, that previous lot number was 4582. 4583 is a 5-record set of the Dempsey-Tunney fight that was held at Soldiers Field, Chicago on September 22nd, 1927. This fight is very well known because of what's called the long count in round 7. We're not going to talk about any of that. We covered that on the Bitter Request show, not only this time, but on a previous show when we played a different side from the set. But it was issued on Paramount in their Blues 12,000 series. Again, it's a 5-record set. These are in just glorious condition. Obviously, this is one of those records that wouldn't have been played often. Probably very few copies of this were even sold. The minimum bid on this set is $2,000. And I would encourage you to listen to the Bitter Request show or pick up the copy of that show on CD and listen to what Mark Atnip has to say about it. He is our resident sports authority, and he will fill you in on some of the details. This is another fighting record, the Joe Louis-Max Schmeling fight from June 22nd, 1938. Both this one and the Schmeling record here are actual broadcasts that went out over the radio. These are not studio recreations. This is what you would have heard sitting down listening over the radio to these fights when they occurred. So as air checks, they're historically interesting as well. Mark had a lot to say about this particular fight that was quite interesting as well. And You'll see this particular copy says presentation copy on it. Mark indicated that in all of his years of dealing in and collecting sports recordings, he has never seen another example of this record. So obviously this was pressed in very limited numbers, probably only for individuals who were associated directly with that fight. So nice to be able to offer that. Now, one of the real highlights of this catalog was this record right here. It's a single-sided recording, Babe Ruth, on Equitable Life Annuities. This would have been on the front cover of the catalog, but when I started working on those Emerson Talking Books, even though this has a $5,000 minimum bid, it got bumped in favor of the Singing Frog. What can I say? But this is a very, very rare recording. Of course, Babe Ruth is considered by many to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sports figure in the history of American sports. He did make a couple of recordings, this being, as far as recordings that would have been, quote, issued and not something that was done for radio, would be the rarest. This is really a choice thing. Mr. Ruth does not speak terribly well in front of a microphone off of a script, but he was a very articulate gentleman, quite a comedian, and quite a personality. Here we have him speaking with Lou Gehrig, Babe and Lou, the Home Run Twins, issued on Perfect. And this is kind of a two-sided comedy dialogue talking about Babe's prowess at the home plate there, and how Mr. Gehrig was working to catch up to him, right on his heels. Again, just a delightful recording. Another category we have in this auction is artist autographs. Now, every auction has artist autographs in it, but they're scattered through the various sections. You'll find a lot of operatic recordings, especially the reissues like IRCC and so forth, where they're all autographed. But in this particular auction, we isolated a group of them because they all came out of the Quentin Riggs collection. He was on personal terms with a lot of the early acoustic recording artists, and therefore was able to get a lot of their signatures on records in his collection. So we sold some of those in a previous catalog a number of years ago. We're selling the balance of them here. I'm not going to take them out of these sleeves. Jack, can you see it well enough through the plastic? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here we have a really nice example. It says, Pee Wee Hunt, Kenny Sargent, and Glenn Gray. Some of these people write as bad as some of the guys that I got in my employ here at Nauction Records, myself included. So you get three for one on that particular label. Here we have two Riggs, sincerely Irving Kaufman and Billy Murray. Now that's pretty sweet right there. Billy Murray autographs do not turn up frequently, and he is one of the most important of our early recording artists.
It's kind of surprising since he was so prolific, but I guess he did do a lot of studio work. So
yeah, and he lived a long time as well. I think he lived into the 1950s, so he was certainly around to sign records. But I don't know that I've ever seen any other than the two or three that I got from Quentin. Here's Jeffrey O'Hara, signed April 22nd, 1954 on a Blue Label Victor. Here is Wilfred Glenn, Clang, 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 a good old song, he says. Wilfred Glenn. Tune being the Armorer's Song from Robin Hood, lot number 4596. Didn't mention those lot numbers, but they are right there in that one category of artist autographs. Here we have 4597. To Quentin and Evelyn, with best wishes, Irving Kaufman, on a really nice Vocalion label. Very sweet. Here we have To Quentin, yours in song, the Keller Sisters and Lynch, on a Brunswick recording, lot number 4598. Lot 4599, Nick Lucas. Nice bold signature there, very attractive. Fortunately on these, you know, sometimes this white ink that was used back then flakes off, and it's very water soluble. You sure don't want to hit that with a damp rag or anything. But these are really nice, and that's why we have them in these bags to protect them. Here we have to Quentin John Beeling, 9/10/47, September 10th, 1947, on a nice patent label Victor. With best wishes for a real discophile, compliments of Jeffrey O'Hara, January 29th, 1964. He is the composer of this song, not the singer in this particular case, something that he wrote for National Bible Week in 1953. Unfortunately, he signed it in pen, it looks like, and looks like perhaps either he or Quentin went over it with the marker. It very likely was actually signed by him in ink, and then he re-signed it in marker because it didn't come out all that well. All right, here we have, I got this from Quentin. I don't know if he actually got the autograph. This is Lucien Muratore, an operatic singer. Wasn't really Quentin's thing, but who knows. Here we have To My Friend Quentin by Will Oakland, lot number 4604. Am I going too fast for you, Jack?
You're good.
Lot number 4605. We actually played this in the Bitter Request show. And it's autographed, one of the best of our old records, Wilfred Glenn, bass, who's singing on this disc with the Revelers, plodding along. Another great inscription, just very personal. He speaks of the recording itself. The autograph is very clear. It's not damaged. And a decent copy record, E minus minus. So we have a $25 minimum bid on that. Should go for more than that, though. And here, finally, the last one is to Quentin Walter Van Brunt, lot number 4606, another Victor patent label. And we're going to wrap up this particular section with this recording. This is on the Melotone label out of New York City, Your Portrait in Sound. This is one of Florence Foster Jenkins' classic recordings with Cosme McMoon on piano. We have 3 of her records in this particular auction. I just show this because I don't think we've shown one in a highlights reel. This is a recording of Serenata Mexicana, which was written by Mr. McMoon and performed by Miss Jenkins. If you've never heard of Florence Foster Jenkins, I would suggest that you do some homework and see what you find out. I think it might prove to be worth your time. From here, we're going to go into cylinders. We're going to start off with lot number 8610. This is by Pope Leo XIII. This is a very short cylinder, as you can see. I'll put a cylinder here next to it. So this is what your typical cylinder is going to look like. This is a short little guy. All right, like that. This is a Bitini cylinder. This was recorded by, the liner. This was recorded by Bitini in 1903. It was issued by Bitini, but it was also issued in the United States by the Columbia Graphophone Company. And this is the original lid for it, although unfortunately a chunk of that lid is missing. But the cylinder itself plays well. Hardly any mold on it. It's a very, very good condition cylinder. Virtually inaudible, or close to being inaudible. Well,
it plays well for being very, very poorly recorded.
Poorly recorded. That's it. Thank you. It was that way from the beginning. This is obviously an extremely rare recording. We do have a copy of this on a Bitini disc back in our archive of the exact same thing, the Pontifical Benediction. But we are releasing the cylinder recording. So somebody is going to be very happy with that. It has a $5,000 minimum bid. All right, next up is here is a Taft recording. William Howard Taft, made for the 1908 presidential election, Republican and Democratic Treatment of Trusts by William Howard Taft. Really, really nice, just beautiful condition. Fortunately, most of these speech cylinders are in beautiful condition. Again, they're just records that people would not have listened to more than once. That was lot number 8751. The Bitini recording was lot number 8610. Then we have a couple of very, very rare 4-minute wax recordings. One of them by Theodore Roosevelt, the Progressive Covenant of the People, which I don't see out here. I'm not sure where that is. It's back somewhere. We played that on the Bitter Request show. But we will highlight this one. This is Lecture on Hygiene, subject Baby's Food. Are you able to get that? So this is the only 4-minute wax recording I have ever encountered which is outside of a regular commercially issued series. Edison did issue some special 4-minute wax cylinders that would be given away when you upgraded your machine to a 4-minute from 2-minute only or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about truly specially issued, never would have seen the light of day in the hands of your average consumer. This is a fascinating cylinder. Don't know much about it or how it came to be. The Edison National Historic Site does not have a copy of this or any record of it. But it looks like it was recorded around 1911, just before the introduction of the Blue Amberol series. Unfortunately, it does have a chip here in the bottom, but it doesn't get close to the grooves. It has a little bit of a hair crack emanating from that point, but also doesn't get into the playing grooves. The cylinder plays very well. We actually played this on the Bitter Request show. This was done under the auspices of the Committee for Babies, Milk, and Hygiene in Boston, Massachusetts. And it is such a cool cylinder. They talk about, what your baby needs to be drinking, and they're offering 3 different formulas for you. They give a listing of like 10 different addresses in the city you can go to buy your baby's milk. It is just wonderful. Just such a interesting historic recording because it's so local. It's not like a national thing like a presidential speech. I mean, this is like really down in the gutter there in Boston. What are you going to do when your baby's sick? Well, you can bring her by the committee and we'll take a look at her or whatever. It's just great stuff. So that particular cylinder has a $1,000 minimum bid, which would be a bargain if it sells for that. Here is a copy of Let Us Not Forget, lot number 9179 in your catalog. This is the only recording that Edison ever issued for sale to the public. It's called Let Us Not Forget. It was his thoughts concerning the recently concluded World War. It's kind of a poignant cylinder. It was issued 2 different ways, with his speech followed by the Star Spangled Banner. This is the version without the Star Spangled Banner. And that has a $250 minimum bid, grades E+, very, very nice. And we also have a section of concert cylinders. This one is lot number 8603. Concert cylinders were made to play on a concert phonograph, which would have a 5-inch diameter mandrel. So this, as you can see, has a beautiful original box. It's got the record number 31443 and the title, Give Us Another Lincoln, a tune that some people might be singing today, given what we're going through in our country. Concert cylinders were typically brown wax, And they didn't play any longer than a typical cylinder, but they were much louder because you had a larger groove in the sense that it was a larger diameter. So greater groove velocity, more volume, and more frequency response. This one is listed as having a few heavy mold spots. So you can see what that means to us. Few heavy mold spots. Not a lot, but what's there is, you're going to hear it, but it's not going to be bad. It passes very quickly. This is a very good sounding cylinder. And we grade that as a 7, which means on a scale of 1 to 10, audibly we would give that a 7. A little bit different grading scale than what we see or what we use for all the other records that we sell. We have a large number of these in the catalog, and if it says nice Columbia original box, this is what you're going to be looking at. Really good, nice shape box, typically with the actual information written on the box to match the cylinder inside. The last cylinders in the auction are actually not necessarily all cylinders at all. They are cylinder boxes. These are Edison Bell boxes. They say the new EB on them for Edison Bell. What makes these interesting is that this features their portrait gallery. So like you would have cigarette cards or baseball cards with the picture of a vaudevillian or a singer or something on them. That's what we have on these boxes. And so they're very, very collectible. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the boxes, and we're just going to briefly picture the pictures on the portraits on each one. Not all of these boxes have cylinders in them. Some of them are empty. Some of them have cylinders that are in very nice shape and certainly contribute to the value. They start with lot number 9397. I'm not going to call the lot numbers on each one of these. You'll find them on page 124, but this at least will give you a good idea of what you'll be getting here. So here we have Harry Bluff. Okay, Jack, you tell me if you're lined up on that.
I am.
All right, so there's Harry Bluff, Marie Blythe. You'll see that some of these boxes are in better condition than others. Here's Charles Capper. Charles Carter. George Churgwin. Hayden Coffin. I'm try and keep these in order so Jack doesn't have to scramble to try and put them back properly. Bell Cole. All right, here's another Bell Cole. You'll see in the catalog that I mentioned two types of box, one with patents and one without. So this is a Bell Cole without the patents, and here's one with the patents that you'll see listed down here. Or somewhere, here we go. Patents are actually in this band around the bottom, which this box does not have. So we have a box with and without patents. So even if you have the same picture, you may still wind up with different boxes altogether. All right. Ian Colquhoun. Leonard Dawson. Lillian Doreen. I wish I knew how many of these there were and all the different artists involved. I do not know. I wasn't able to find information on that. Leo Dryden. Connie Edis. G.H. Eliot. We also have a little paper portrait for him that was never on a box, so I guess they also issued these portraits in that way as well. You'll see that listed in the catalog. Here's Pipe Major Forsyth. You'll see that some of these boxes have lids, some do not. WT frame, or WF frame, I'm sorry. Black performer, Pete Hampton. C.H. Hassel. I don't know if these have ever really been documented in any way, pictured anywhere, so that's why we're going through this. I've been adding to this collection for years, and this may be the only place out there on the internet where you can go to see these boxes, so that's why we're doing it. Here we have Russell Hunting, a very, very famous figure in the history of recorded sound, both in America and overseas. Fred James. Alma Jones. Here's a second Alma Jones. Pass that. Alec Kennedy. As I mentioned in the Bitter Request show, and we played one or two of these in the show, at least one or two, of course, it had cylinders in them. George Lashwood. There was no effort on the part of the Edison Bell Company, as far as I know, to ensure that the cylinder in the box matched the cylinder or the portrait on the box. I don't think that that was a concern for them. And so, Julie Mackey. So when we do have cylinders in these boxes, in most cases they will not be the same guy that's pictured on the box. It's George Mozart. Ollie Oakley, banjoist. Victor Opperman. Albert Pierce. Alexander Prince and his art accordion. Arthur Reese and his carnation. Ernest Shand. You can tell by the garb that some of these people are wearing, or their makeup or something, that they were probably pretty entertaining. Here's Ella Shields. All right. Elise Stedham. Alfred Thomas. Wilfred Virgo. And last we have Mr. W.W. Whitlock. Little water damage or something on that one, but you can still get the idea. And that wraps up our cylinder section. So what we're going to do next is we are going to go through the higher value records in the catalog very quickly. Basically anything with a $250 and higher minimum bid that we haven't already shown. If you're going to be spending that kind of money on a record and we have the ability to show you a picture of it, I mean, why not? It's not costing us anything but time. I know that if I was going to drop $500 or $1,000 on a record, I wouldn't mind actually seeing what it looked like. So we're not going to take them all out. We're not going to show you both sides of everything. We don't have time for all that. But at least we'll show you some interesting stuff. Most of this is going to just be on common labels, Victor, Columbia, okay, whatever. So if you're not interested in that, if you're not bidding on a really high dollar, high grade stuff like that, you could bail out now, and you've seen 95% of what I think would interest you. Otherwise, stick around, and we'll see how quickly we can knock this out.